Good morning, it's Jolly Boy. I hope you've had a very Merry Christmas. Today it's Boxing Day and we've got a few things planned this afternoon, but I just want to take this opportunity now to get on and talk about what I've got planned for our current project. So this is a little concept plan that I put together for our current project. You've got quite an expansive paved patio area and you have these two stepped areas. There's two patio doors here, this one being 2.4 and this one being 1.8. So we want to go a little bit wider with the steps on this side, and hopefully we can just match up on this side. We're going to be using Brazilian slate, black slate. We've got a path coming off here in cobbles, and we've got a small wall that's going to run around the perimeter of the garden, and another little seated area with quite a nice lawn area. The whole aspect of the garden is we have a really steep bank on this side, but there's a great view from this side of the garden, and quite a big house, and very wide, very big patio. But the main features will be these two steps, which this is what I want to talk about this morning. Okay, here we are. We've got some 0.3 here, pens, but I'm going to, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using this marker pen this morning. So let's just have a look in simple terms what we're hoping to achieve. If I do a scale of 1 to 20, or 1 to, yeah, well, let's go 1 to 20. Yeah, 1 to 20, this is what we use now. I haven't got my glasses with me, which I should have, really. Maybe 1 to 10 would be better, I suppose. There we go. So, what we have here, this is what we're looking to do. So we're going to measure in now on there 50 mil, and then we're going to come down 200. You get some sort of scale about what we're looking. I should have my glasses really, but I haven't got them yet. Right, it's not rocket science, but this is the steps. We're going to have 3 steps that's going to ascend, hopefully, to the threshold of the doorway. So there we are. So let's just put a line here so we can illustrate where the house is. So there we are, and this would be the step for the patio door. So what we have here on each level, if I use a smaller marker now, so when our clients eventually, when it's all completed, they're going to be stepping out from here. This will be just over a 200 millimeter drop, or 8 inches. Okay, that will come onto the first step, and then the first tread, which we're going to be using some Brazilian slate, and I'll be talking about that later. Unfortunately, I haven't got none here this morning. This dimension here, from there to there, is going to be 600 mil. Okay, 600 millimeter or 2 feet. And again, on here, the dimension for here to there, let's just show you now. This will be 200 mil. Now the reason I'm going through this process, because it helps me to start identifying, when I get to the job, about what I need to do, okay? Because we're going to be building this area in block work, okay. You will see from the recent video that we've actually put a pad stone in place, okay, and that pad stone has steel in it. The reason we put steel in it was to make sure that if there was a compromise in the concrete, that the steel would hold it in place, okay. And then this comes down onto our patio. Let me show you now. So what we've got here, 600 wide tread, 200 riser, 600 tread, 200 riser, 600 tread, and a 200 risers. So it's 1, 2, 3, and in theory there'll be a jump up into the house on this side. Now, this may appear to be, like I said, not rocket science, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be drawing now in a sec, because this side of the steps is where we're going to clad. We're going to clad this with slate. We're not going to be building it with any face work or stonework. We're going to be using the same slate that we're using for the treads and the riser as for the sides as well. So here we go, got some glasses now so I can see better. There we go. And I'll show a close-up of this as I go later. So what we have on the side here, this is the corner of the house. This is as we're looking face on to the house. And we have approximately, at the moment, with ground level, we've got enough, you see, for 3 steps, plus going into the house, okay, the threshold, going through the side, the sliding patio doors. They're not bifolding doors, they are sliding patio doors. So we've got 800 in height that we can play with. So if we do this on a scale of 1 to, well, if we do this on a 1 to 20 for this part, okay, you'll be able to see. So we've got 800 to play with. So let's just get our 800 there, and 800 on this side. And let's mark a line through what would be, in theory, just check that now. Okay, just there. So in theory, this is our damp course, okay? Going through there. That is our damp course. Now, the patio doors start approximately, I believe, 1.2 meters inside. So let's just extend this line here. So this is the corner of the house. There we are, that's the corner of the house. And then we've got our patio doors. So let's put our patio doors in. Approximately, just so you can see and get some idea. And when we're on the project itself, and they are 2.4 meters wide. There we are. 2.4. So you get some sort of scale of what's happening here. There we are. And let's just put, just so you can just see in the middle, because there is like, it's more or less 2 doors. There we are. So there we are. You can just see now, illustrate that as the glass. So there's the doors. So we want to be putting our steps so we can enter it. It's quite a drop. So we've got, the slabs are 900 by 600. So 3 9s are 27. So we're going to have 150 mil either side. So if we start here, and this is what I do every time, even when I'm on site, I will start the 900 there, because we want, there you go, we want it to come past so it looks a little bit more grander and a little bit more wider, so that if they wanted to put something on the side of the steps, that they could actually do that. Hold on a sec, there we go. So if we go 450, there's your 900, there's the first slab, there's your other 900, And there's your 900. Got a few marks on here now. So what we've got here, this line here, if you can see it, and I'll do a close-up in a sec, this illustrates the damp course level, and this illustrates where the door starts, the patio doors, the existing patio doors from here to here, and this illustrates, so you can see the two doors. So we have the width of the door is 2.4 overall, so there's the centre, 1.2. So if we start from there, 450 there, and we go 900 here. So there's our first slab, and then the other 900, the 3 feet, which comes here, and the 900 here, and that gives us 150 mil either side of the steps. That's 3 slabs, so there's 150 mil either side of the door. Okay, so if I'm able to show you that by just marking it in, you'll be able to see I don't know if you're able to see that, but this will show the width of the slabs. But remembering that we've got the first step from the patio doors is going to be 200 millimeter lower. So 200 millimeters lower. Which is there. Here we go. Let's go across there now. You'll be able to see that will be our first step. But I'm just going to mark the line down there so you can see how much wider it is than the door. So that will be our first step. There we go. There is our first step. Now, remembering the slate that we're actually using is a 30 millimeter Brazilian black slate. 30 millimeter 3 cm black slate. So what we're going to have there, if you can see, let me just see if I can just mark that in now so you can see it. So that'll be 900 wide. There we go. And there, 900 wide. So that will give us 150 mil either side of the step. And then again, what we got to do is when we look head on, you'll have an overhang on here with a slab because you've got to have a drip, and we're going to be talking about that at some point. Now, the reason I do this is that it helps me to identify measurements when I get to site instead of thinking about it, because there's nothing worse when you're on site and you have to draw everything out and do it all over again. So let me just show the next step coming down here now. There we are, 200 again. And obviously I'm doing this now as quick as I can so you get the gist of what we're doing. So, and what we'll actually do, when you see the face, the riser of the step, okay, the riser, we're going to half bond the riser as well. So you'll have this sort of effect going through, okay? And again, this is almost like brickwork in a way. There's your 3 cm again. That's your next step. Okay. Always got to think about what we're actually doing before I carry on with it. So there we are. So the steps that you see when you're going up the steps, you're going to see the black slate cladded to the block work, okay? When we're on site, we'll be able to show you this, but this will start giving you an insight to how I'm going to go about it. Again, what we talked about here, this is along here, you can see this because it's a little bit more darker. It'd be clearer to actually see. I'll do a close-up of it. But this width here is the 30mm Brazilian black slate, okay? We got to have an overhang, okay, because we don't want the water falling back and dripping down the riser on the face and the face getting dirty. So what we intend to do, and I'm going to just draw this a little bit bigger so you can actually see it with this black marker pen now, is that let's make it a little bit bigger. And we won't necessarily do this to scale, but what we're going to have is, when you see the slate, okay, the slate has a square edge, okay, it has a square edge. So the idea is that we're going to bullnose this shape when we're on site with a bullnozer, okay, and I don't mind doing it with slate because slate is generally the same colour all the way through and it will oxidise. When we bullnose this, it's going to look quite clean, okay, but as time goes on, it's going to oxidise and it will come the same colour as the slate itself. The other thing that we actually have to do, you can see that this is much better now, okay, so we're going to have like a 2-inch overhang. That's the face, that's the riser where we're going to clad to our block work, and just imagine some block work underneath, probably a block on flat, okay. We'll illustrate the block by putting a cross through it like that. And you'll be able to see that in just a second. And then on the front of that, we are going to put a slate riser on the face. And the reason we want to do this, because this slate is really sleek, it's really contemporary, it's got a nice edge to it, and it will look nice and clean. And we're probably going to use a Mapai Rapid Exterior Adhesive against this block. And it works, and I know it works. But what we'll probably do is that this riser will be trapped in by the next step, or the tread we should say, or the step going in like that. So you know it's not going to come out. There's your next step coming off there. Let me just show you now. And the idea is that the riser will be trapped behind the tread of the next step, okay? I'll just draw some block work in here on this bit so you can actually get the idea again on here. I know it's not necessarily Da Vinci, but it will give you an insight, and hopefully it will intrigue you to see how I actually do it when I go to site. So this will be our step, block work, riser, step, block work, and then riser again. But the other thing what we actually have to do, and I'm going to draw it on here, just here so you can actually see it on here. So when we create these steps, the thing that we have to think about is when the water runs along here and then over the side and down, we don't want the water returning against the riser and dirtying that. So what we have to do, we're going to have to cut a capillary groove underneath the slab. I know it all looks like a bit of a scribble, but all will make sense at some point. So what we've got to do, I'm going to make this look a little bit bigger. So what we got to actually do, we've got to rebate a capillary groove on the underside of the slate. So when the water comes round, shoots down, it will go back underneath, and then it stops, and then it will drip, and it won't affect the riser on the face there. Okay, that's what we need to do. We need to keep it off the face of the riser. Well, here we go. First of all, you can actually see this is the end of the house here. This is where the patio doors start. This is the first step down from the house onto the treads, and you can see that we've bonded the risers as well. We may line them all up, I'm not quite sure at the moment. It depends when we get to site, things change as usual. But this is in end elevation. You can see the 600 mil, down 200, 600, down 200, 600, down 200, and then onto the patio. You can see here where we've got the block work behind, and the riser will be adhered to this block work. But also, just as a safeguard, the tread on the next step will actually trap this riser in position as well. But we'll stick this one on first. We'll stick it on, as I said, with the Mapai Rapid exterior set, and it does work, okay? Only when you're cladding to block work that it should be mechanically fixed when it's higher than 3 meters. But it does work, you'll be able to see. And what we do when we're doing these, we back butter the unit as well as putting it on the block work of the face. One thing that we got to make sure is that when we do the block work, everything has gone off and nice and solid. Just here you can see this illustrates the 30mm Brazilian black slate, and what I was talking about was the water running down here around the face, and we don't want it to go back onto the riser of the step, so we're going to have to cut a capillary groove on the underside. And when I've done this before, I haven't done them wide enough, and the water just tracks across and goes down. So we're going to have to make this at least 10 mil wide, minimum 10 mil wide. The best way to find out about this is to look on the underside of windowsills, and you will see how they do it there. Now, the other thing that I was going to talk about is that if we were to look down in plan view where the steps, the position of the steps is going to be, this is the corner of the house. And the patio doors, as I said, are approximately here. And basically we're going to create, okay, we've put the foundation in now already, and it's one big raft completely, okay? It is, if I remember, it goes out about 1.8. So you've got this big mass here. So what we have underneath, we have reinforcing all the way underneath, all throughout the concrete, reinforcing mesh all the way through. And the reason for that is that if we have a compromise in our concrete, the steel should hold it in place. The other thing, what we have to consider here is, do we tie into the house? Okay, it is well below damp course. Do we use fur fix? Do we use some sort of ties? Because we're going to be building some block work off here and across here. And the other thing, of course, is that every time that we build a step, if you imagine we build a step like this, as I said, do we fill all that void in completely, and the next void in completely, and the next void in completely? Do we fill that in? My concerns is with that, as these steps are quite substantial in size, that is going to add extra weight to this area, though we've put a good foundation in place. So my thought process is that when we do our block work, like so, that our slab can go on top, and then our block work for the next bit then, again, is that we keep this void clear completely. Well, look, not exactly Da Vinci with my drawings and my plans, but hopefully it will give you some sort of insight, a little bit at least, to where we're going with this.